Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera. With me is Douglas County Manager Steve Mokrohiski, and welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Good to have you here, and been a little warm lately, and we're doing a twin spin here. We're doing the June 20th and the July 1st meeting, and I guess it's been so darn hot we just couldn't get over here to do it.
Yeah, and we've got the holiday. Yeah, we're melting away. It is. It feels like the South in July, doesn't it? Yeah, it's kind of humidity in the air. And,
no, it's as we sit here outside, it's over 100 degrees right now. So and the hot spell is supposed to break.
Right.
And
I'm good here.
We'll see
in
about
the nice
that.
Air conditioning.
Yes, that's what we need. So we're going to, and by the way, that was a joke. It wasn't because it was too hot. Just busy.
Okay.
It's hard to get together.
It is busy.
But June 20th and July 1st. So let's begin with June 20th. That was up at Lake Tahoe. And commissioners really heard kind of a historic one here. They passed a series of ordinances and resolutions that will give greater control to Douglas County in the area of planning at Lake Tahoe. And commissioners approved the South Shore Area Plan. And so can you give us kind of an overview of the plan and what it means to Lake Tahoe residents?
Sure. Yeah, and this is the next phase in what the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency recently adopted in December 2012, the Regional Plan Update, which was many years in the making for a new regional plan for the entire Tahoe Basin. That's been adopted, and now local jurisdictions in the Tahoe Basin are doing work to develop area plans. Douglas County is the first local jurisdiction in the Tahoe Basin to propose and adopt a new area plan for our area of Lake Tahoe. And so we're excited to lead in that effort. What it does is allow local jurisdictions greater ability to plan for the future of their community, greater control over the type of initiatives and projects and management of additions and construction and building that happens in the Tahoe Basin. So there's still a process that needs to go through now. The Tahoe Regional Planning Agency still needs to approve the Douglas County's area plan, and they're going through the committee process, and we believe in August TRPA will approve Douglas County's South Shore area plan. But we're really excited to be the first ones to go forward with this. There have been some question from some of the environmental groups about whether or not local jurisdictions should be given the ability to have these plans and to capture the benefits that are allowed for in these plans, which really are all about redeveloping the existing built environment. Douglas County has very few opportunities for new development in the Tahoe Basin. There just is not land that's available that's zoned for development. So when we talk about plans for any changes in Lake Tahoe, it's really redeveloping what's already there and making it better, improving the environment from creating more energy efficient buildings, improving the water quality features, stormwater management, best management practice, implementation, and a number of other areas. Recreation, access to the lake, bike trails, more pedestrian friendly, walkable downtowns with open plazas and mixed use. So all of these things are universally viewed by businesses, by residents, and by most environmental groups as being positive for the community, for the economy, and for the environment in Lake Tahoe. I heard a radio show a couple weeks ago, and they were interviewing an environmentalist from the Sierra Club who's filed suit against the regional plan, and the person's comment was, local government can't be trusted to hold the line on development. And I reflected on that, and I thought, boy, nothing is further from the truth here. When you've got a federal government and even in many cases state governments that are challenged to get the business of the people done, our communities are more and more looking to local government to represent them. And so local governments are becoming more and more influential and critical in managing the issues of our communities. And I think that comment ignores the reality in Douglas County that in the Carson Valley we've conserved 15,000 acres of land in conservation easements. We preserve that land for the future because we know what we have here. We're redeveloping our downtowns. We have 18% of the shoreline in Lake Tahoe, but only 3% of the fine sediment load finds its way into Lake Tahoe. We have one of the highest BMP compliance rates in the Tahoe Basin, and we've invested millions of dollars in the public and private sector in improving water quality features. So we are leading in Douglas County and in the private sector in Douglas County in improving the environment. So this area plan will allow us to redevelop that built environment, make this sense of place in the community and the economy and the environment in Lake Tahoe even better. And we're excited to lead and excited to see where this takes us.
Now, commissioners approve the plan, but it goes on to TRPA, right?
It does,
They
right.
have to approve it.
Yes, and they had, after the board's June 20th meeting where they adopted the area plan, TRPA then had a committee meeting the week after to review this. There were some additional questions. They're going to bring it back to another committee. And then again, we anticipate in August, at the end of August, that the TRPA governing board will take up Douglas County's area plan, hopefully adopt it, and then we will be the first local area plan under the new regional plan that will be implemented.
Okay. Well, along with the South Shore Area Plan, commissioners also approved a Memorandum of Understanding between Douglas County and TRPA for that plan.
Right.
So how does that all tie into it?
Well, the Memorandum of Understanding is to allow Douglas County to have a role in permitting some of the smaller projects. It could be residential reconstruction or additions that people are adding onto their home, a deck, a driveway, or some other addition. And oftentimes, those redevelopment of residential properties, the smaller things, bring with them enhancements to the environment, because when people are updating their homes, they're going to add more energy efficient amenities, they're going to add some stormwater features that help capture fine sediment and everything. So all these things we recognize as positive. So Douglas County will have a role in permitting those directly for our local residents. We'll leave the larger projects. So let's say Edgewood Companies comes forward and wants to redevelop the Horizon building. That would still need to go to TRPA because that's a major project of regional significance. TRPA will still need to permit that. They'll still need to go through the approval process at the TRPA level. But these smaller items that are really local and that are benefits to the local residents, those will come to Douglas County. And so that's another positive aspect of this regional and local planning effort, is to allow local governments to do what they do well, plan and permit at the local level, allow TRPA, the regional entity, to do what it is responsible for doing, planning and regulating and permitting on a regional basis.
Well, it all sounds great, but there is a lawsuit kind of cutting across the whole
Yeah.
thing, isn't there? And if that lawsuit, if the opposing side, as it were, prevails, then all this goes down the tubes, right?
Well, it does, and that's the challenge that we have in this environment is you have some of these special interest groups, the Sierra Club and the Friends of the West Shore, have filed suit against the regional plan. They've threatened to file suit against the local area plans. Now in Douglas County's area plan is what's speculated that they may file suit against that. It's unfortunate because the regional plan and the local area plans are intended to improve the natural environment, to improve lake clarity, to improve stormwater management practices, to improve walkability and transportation amenities and access and recreation and all of these things. And so many people are confused as to why an environmental agency would want to oppose something that is universally recognized to improve the environment. And that type of obstruction is what has led us to the negative environmental impacts that we have at the lake today. The fact that we have buildings that are 50, 60 years old that have not had investment, that don't have the energy efficiency upgrades, don't have the stormwater management infrastructure in place, is largely a result of a regulatory environment and some environmental agencies who've taken the approach of obstructing progress. So we're trying to change that dynamic. You have other environmental groups like the League to Save Lake Tahoe and the Nevada Conservation League who've tried to come to the table now and be part of the dialogue and move towards progress rather than just obstruct progress. And so we continue to work with those groups, residents and businesses, to really improve our environment, improve our economy, improve our community at Lake Tahoe.
Well, this is one we'll have to follow. It remains to be seen
Yeah.
how it's all going to flesh out.
It does.
Yeah.
The local, the regional, and there are folks nationally who are watching this effort too. So we're excited that Douglas County is leading. We're not sitting back and waiting for other things to happen. We're pushing forward and really trying to do the right thing for our economy, for our community, and for the environment.
Okay, great. Well, also at that June 20th meeting, commissioners awarded a contract for the 2013 road sealing and overlay project to Sierra Nevada Construction in the amount of $424,000. Well, I knew I'd screw that up. $424,007.
There you go.
Yeah. And can you tell us about some of the work that's going to be done there?
Sure. This is the annual road seal contract that we go out with every year, our 5-year transportation plan. And this is the area, Lloyd, that we've talked about really needing to identify more money. This contract is for $424,000 for various road seal projects. Douglas County has over 200 miles of paved and unpaved roads. I think it's 230 miles of paved and unpaved roads. 170 of those are paved. And so it's a large network of pavement that we're responsible for. And we spend, right now, this contract is about $1,500 per mile per year. You compare that to the towns of Minden and Gardnerville that spend $25,000 to $35,000 per mile per year, and you see why the condition of county roads is what it is. So this is an area we need to increase, and next year we will go from $424,007 to about $1.5 million because the board has transferred existing revenue into road maintenance, which is a positive sign. But for this year, we'll spend this money. It's a private contract with Sierra Nevada Construction, as you indicated, and there's a long list of chip seals and overlays and slurry seal type projects. Kimmerling Road from Highway 88 to Tillman is a chip seal. We're going to do a chip seal on East Valley Road from Fish Springs south, Fish Springs Road to Home Lane and Homestead Road, Windmill from Fish Springs north. We're going to do a chip seal there. Drayton Boulevard, Hayborn Road section by Airport Road. So a number, East Valley. So a number of areas in that kind of East Valley area where we're going to do some chip seals and slurry seals. So we do those things to try and extend the useful life of the pavement.
Sure.
And get as much bang for the limited dollar that we have.
Okay. Also, commissioners approved a reorganization of the Douglas County Public Library, and that resulted in an annual savings of $17,400. Can you tell us about that reorganization?
Yeah, the library, Linda Deasy, and you serve on the library board of trustees,
This
I believe.
is correct.
So you've seen this proposal, and I think Linda and her staff and the board of trustees did a really nice job bringing to the board a reorganization plan to, under the same guidelines that we've set in the county. There are things we can do to reorganize structurally our departments, reduce the amount of money that we spend, reduce the number of positions and management if possible, and still improve the quality of the services through use of technology and realignment of resources and staffing. We try to capture opportunities when you have a vacant position, somebody leaves, or other opportunities to maybe downgrade a position or increase in certain areas, but there's an overall reduction here, as you said, for the library. So there's a cost savings, but through utilization of technology and realignment of those resources, Linda Deasy and the board have been able to really focus on what the priorities are. So I think providing coverage for patrons and access to technology and kind of the shift that we've seen in libraries, it's not the same card catalog and Dewey Decimal System that we grew up with. It's computers and access to technology that people really are looking for. So this library, I think, has done a great job embracing those concepts.
Yeah, technology is definitely king. So and it really plays well right into the library library system.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
this was
nice
a great job.
Able to make some savings on by using technology.
Yep, no question.
This one could go on for probably the rest of the show, but maybe if you give us a brief overview of the presentation that Mary and Steve Walker made to the commissioners. They're the lobbyists for Douglas County to the state legislature. And can you tell us maybe in a few words what they had to say?
Sure, yeah. The legislative session now is over, and so we had about 1,120 bills that were introduced in this last legislative session. Douglas County tracked about 440 of those bills. And I think overall it was a positive session, legislative session. We didn't have significant unfunded mandates passed down from the state. We had some good things, additional funding for China Spring Youth Camp in Aurora Pines, helped out our general fund with some cost allocation revenues from the state for that purpose. The state has allowed for whiskey distilleries to also have accompanying tasting rooms in restaurants and distribution of those. This is something that We've had some local businesses be interested in potentially doing a spirit distillery, liquor distillery facility and tasting room and restaurant, really nice attraction for the Carson Valley. So that was a positive. In a number of other areas that were mostly positive. So I think all in all, a much better session in the 2013 Nevada legislature than the 2011 was.
Okay, let's move on to the July 1st meeting, and this, of course, was scheduled for July 4th, the holiday, so it had to be moved to Monday, July 1st. So if anybody goes down there on July 4th, nothing's going to be happening.
Yeah, well, hopefully people are out and enjoying the July 4th holiday and celebrating the holiday and our independence and staying safe. So we took care of the people's business in Douglas County on July 1st and had a number of items. And I think the first thing that you wanted to talk about was the outdoor festival permit, various outdoor festival permits for Candy Dance in the town of Genoa. And the board did approve 4 separate outdoor festival permits, one for the town of Genoa, and then 3 other for 3 individual entities in the town that each run their own craft type fairs. This has happened the past several years where the board has taken up, typically these are routine matters. In this case, there historically has been a lot of discussion about how to split the public safety costs that are associated with that event, and the total costs are in the range of about $16,000 for fire, paramedic, and law enforcement services for that. And so the public safety agencies say, here's the total cost, $16,000 plus. Board of Commissioners, you need to figure out how to distribute that. So there's oftentimes a debate about should it be equally spread between the 4 entities, or should it be, per booth that each festival has. Ultimately, the board, as it has decided in the past, approved splitting those costs equally among the 4 participants, and so each of the permittees will share in the equal cost of the public safety fees.
Yeah, this has proven to be kind of a contentious issue that keeps coming back to the commissioners every year, and it never seems to get settled. It seemed like commissioners were saying they really would like to settle this issue once and for all. I mean, it started out with the Candy Dance, then the other people decided to have festivals on the same weekend, and it's never really gotten straightened out exactly who does what and who pays for what and all that.
2 sides to every story, and I think the town, argues that Candy Dance has been there for over 100 years, and then there are others who now are coming forward and want to have events on that same weekend. The businesses and entities that have come forward and asked for those permits, their side of the story is that their businesses have not been able to operate in the same way that they do because of the event for that weekend, so they should have the ability to do their own thing. I think at the end of the day, a lot of it is wrapped up in the fact you have the oldest settlement in the state of Nevada, and there still is some unresolved business that cannot be settled in the oldest settlement in Nevada. And it's, I think, everyone's desire. I think between the town and the 3 other entities and the county, everyone wants to see that somehow we work towards some reasonable solution to get this fixed in the future. It is a little bit like Groundhog Day. If you've seen the movie with Bill Murray, it's a classic. It's kind of like we feel like we wake up every year around this time and go, we're talking about this again, and nothing has really changed. I think this board does desire to try and find some way to establish a policy that we can have more consistency, and they don't have to every year go through the same debate. And again, there are 2 sides to every story. I think both the town and the other entities have issues and arguments and legitimate concerns that they've raised, and the Board of Commissioners has done everything it can to. They're in the middle of it, really trying to pick a side. What do we do here? And that's really a tough place to be. And the board is typically doesn't like to do that because it's the county coming into the town and dictating how that should go, and so we're sensitive to it. So hopefully we can bring forward something that will establish a policy for the longer term, but for now it will remain unsettled business beyond this next year.
Okay. Commissioners did hear an update on the Community Senior Center project. What's the latest there?
The project's on schedule,
great,
on budget, or within the budget, and we're going to keep it that way. and no change orders in addition to the budget that has been established by the board. So we have about an $18.6 million budget for the project, and that's what we're going to live within. We won't spend more than that. Unless we get private donations that want to add to that, then we'll work with those private entities as we have, and we continue to have some interest from some local private entities that want to participate there. So site improvement permit done. Our permits have been issued. Site work is out there. The bid for Waterloo Lane is out, and the work will commence soon on July 11th. So within the next week or so, you'll start to see the construction crews rolling out and doing work to bring that facility out of the ground. So we're really excited about that. And over 70,000 square foot building for our entire community. And it'll be an exciting day in late 2014, early 2015 when we open that facility for all of our community to use.
And we'll be hearing about the progress on a regular schedule, won't we? They're going to have quarterly reports.
That's right. This was a quarterly update at the board, and we will continue to provide quarterly updates. So we're again, everything's on time, on budget, and moving along.
Great news. Commissioners also heard or actually reheard a zoning amendment to change a 1 acre parcel off of Foothill Road from public facilities to single-family residential, and they turned it down. And then the people asked for a rehearing, and this time commissioners approved it. So what was different this time?
New information. I think initially the board looked at this issue. There were some questions and concerns when they denied the introduction of the ordinance to change the zoning from public facilities to single-family residential. About, is there need for the open space, and do we want to try and preserve that open space or not? What are the other potential public uses that could go at that site? And so that was the original justification. The applicant then appealed that decision by the board, so went through a process to do a reconsideration of the introduction. The board at the last meeting agreed to the reconsideration, approved that. So at the July 1st meeting they did, their decision was whether or not to introduce what they had previously not introduced. They, as you said, they ultimately did agree to introduce the ordinance based on the new information that was presented, and provided, I think, some context for the original purpose for that open space and what has occurred in the area. And I think, largely all of the additional open space that's in that Foothill area today that's been established in the determination that there isn't really a need for this 1 acre that's kind of boxed in by other residential development.
Well, that seemed to be the sticking point with commissioners of, usually open space and that type of thing is open space, but all of a sudden, right in the middle of it is a residential. You just
had a one,
property.
Right.
Yeah, and so it really wasn't consistent, but it'll be interesting to see how that one goes, because there's another hearing coming up on
the
that.
second reading, right? It's an ordinance, and so it requires a second hearing.
Well, I don't want to embarrass you or anything, but commissioners gave their annual evaluation of you, and they evaluate the county manager in open public meeting. And they had some very nice things to say about you, but I won't embarrass you about that.
Okay.
Unless you'd like me to go
No,
through
that's okay.
the
I'm
list.
good.
But during the presentation and all the conversation, the accomplishments for the past year were pretty impressive. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind kind of recapping what Douglas County, what kind of progress we've been making over the past year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, it is an awkward situation to be in this position where the state law requires that they have your evaluation in open. Of course, it's much better to hear good things about your performance than the opposite. And the board, I think, is pleased with the track that we're on. My view, and I appreciate the comments about my role in this, I do feel that while this is a critical role for the organization and the community to provide leadership and to make sure we have good people in places and set direction and tone and vision and all those kind of things, we would not be making the progress we're making without all the other pieces in place, which are a board of commissioners that is focused on strategic planning and visioning and establishing priorities and sticking to their goals. If we didn't have residents that are engaged and come to our meetings and ask questions and want information and challenge things, if we didn't have businesses that were actively involved and trying to do positive things for our community. And if we didn't have a staff and employees in our organization that are committed to what they're doing and that are really talented. So I feel blessed to be part of that process and to help lead all those. We're making progress in the areas of long-range financial stability. I think we've come out of the economic downturn now stronger than we were before. We're leaner, we're more effective, we're more cost efficient in what we're doing. We have fewer employees. We've stabilized our personal expenses, stabilized our revenues. Standard & Poor's a year ago gave us an A+ bond rating. 2 weeks ago, Moody's, which is one of the other three international rating agencies, gave us a AA2, which is the third highest bond rating you can get from Moody's. It's actually higher than an A+ from Standard & Poor's. So we have 2 of the 3 rating agencies that have reaffirmed, our financial standing. So all that's really positive. Priority-based budgeting. I'm going to be out at a conference with some of our staff next week in Washington, D.C., speaking to other cities and counties around the country about our story in Douglas County with what we've done to implement priority-based budgeting. So we now have become an example to others of how to implement this type of discussion of investing taxpayer resources in the priorities that the board and the community have set. So I'm excited about that, not just because others are looking at us, but it shows that we're on the right track, that we're doing something right. I think we're making great progress in the budget as it relates to shifting money towards preventative road maintenance. This was a strategic priority the board established and the public said was really critical. So we're moving forward at over $1 million. The board shifted an additional $500,000 in the next few years. We've created the road funding task force, which met last week for the first time. We have a great group of leaders. I'm really proud of the folks we've had in the organization who have great credibility and trust in the community. They have a history and knowledge that's wonderful. And then folks that we've been able to bring from outside the organization who have a fresh take on things. So we've got a great balance in our pool of talent. The legislative session, as I mentioned earlier, I think we had a very successful session this year compared to 2 years ago. The community and senior center that we talked about after 40 years of the community asking for a community center, we're finally building it, and we've financed it in a responsible way that we can pay it back. Everything happening in the town of Genoa, the redevelopment of that wonderfully historic area for our community has been managed, I think, almost flawlessly, and it's a wonderful product. If you haven't been to the town of Genoa, go look at all the work there. Economic development, over 600 new jobs that we've had move to Douglas County, over 50 businesses, expansions of existing businesses here. Unemployment is down. The Minden-Tahoe Airport, $17 million contract for Minden Air. We've seen residential and commercial development at the Minden Gateway and Clear Creek and Ranch at Gardnerville, all of these things moving forward. The COD Casino now is in the middle of construction. We've worked with our business community to try to adjust our regulations to allow as much flexibility as possible, while also making sure that we plan our community for the betterment of our residents in the future. So we're partnering with the private sector. We're focusing on water and sewer rates at Lake Tahoe and the Carson Valley and trying to get those stabilized. We're trying to create a long-range vision for the Carson Valley.
And I was afraid we'd run out of time, and we have.
Are we? Okay, so there you go. That was the laundry list of things, but we're really pleased with the progress that we're making. We'll continue on that track.
Can you give us a real quick preview of what's coming up on the July 18th?
We haven't set the agenda yet. It's too early.
Too early.
So I can tell you that we are going to be, in August, we'll be talking about Lake Tahoe water rates up at the lake. We'll be talking more about Carson Valley water rates in August, and then as we go forward in the next few months. So look for roads, water, and sewer discussions to be a big part of what we talk about over the next 6 months.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looking forward to the future.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Lloyd.
I want to thank County Manager Steve Mokorohysky. Here on the County Manager's Report, I'm Lloyd Higuera, and we'll see you next time on the report.